Hello and welcome back to the Google Workspace Update podcast from Strawberry 7. My name is Adam.
And my name is also Adam.
We're here to bring you the latest updates about everything that's happening around Google Workspace. This podcast is also available in video form on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/strawberry7. And it's available from irregular podcast providers. Let's get to it.
On with the show. Right, so this week in Google Workspace Updates, the first one we're going to talk about is Google Chat. So back in 2018, Google announced a feature which is a smart reply in chat, which essentially Google will come up with a suggested message to respond to your messages within Google Chat based on your habits, which is quite cool. So initially they were only offered in English, but now, and it is as of right now, they're branching out. They're now offering the same service in some more languages. So we've got Spanish, French, and Portuguese. And the good thing about that is, as soon as you start typing a reply, the smart reply will automatically detect which language you're using and offer responses based on that, which is pretty cool.
Excellent. Yeah, that's really impressive. I mean, this smart reply feature, it's similar to something that Google do in Google Docs and Google Slides. I think they do it in as well, where it kind of guesses what I think they call it autocomplete there or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it kind of guesses it thinks what you're going to type next, and it seems to use some kind of like AI. But I tell you what's really interesting about that feature, and I think you've alluded to it here with Smart Chat as well, Adam, is I've noticed when I've been typing, it's almost gotten to know me, and it's gotten to know kind of how I type and what type of document I'm writing and things. It can be really accurate as to guessing what you're about to type.
I know exactly what you mean, and I completely agree. I have found I'm using that feature more and more myself because it's becoming more and more helpful and accurate, and it is actually predicting the types of things that I actually want to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So for anybody who hasn't seen this, I'm not exactly sure what it will look like in chat. I imagine it will be the same as autocomplete in docs. What happens is, let's say you're typing a document, and let's say you're saying, the sentence, "We all need to follow the above procedure." You would start typing, "We all need to," and then the Google will actually possibly guess, and it will say follow the above procedure. And what will happen is the writing will sort of look grayed out, won't it, Adam? It will it will be there, and you just push tab, and it just pops it in as the actual text. Really handy and really sort of quick to use. I've used it a lot. I use it a lot in my writing these days.
Yes, so this one for Google Chat at the moment, when you're using Google Chat, you'll probably see that there's three little bubbles above your message, which comes up with a predictive message or a predictive response for based on what someone else has messaged you, and based on the types of things that you normally say. So I think that's how this feature will probably present itself. There will probably be the three little bubbles, and instead of now just being in English, we've got some other languages to use as well. But the auto detecting which language you're using, I think that is where the very clever bit comes in.
It is really clever, and you really start to see as well how Google are linking up all of these services that because no doubt this is tying into Google Translate somewhere along the line. I would imagine in the back end, and you can really start to see how they've laid all of these different parts and elements to the suite of products that they offer, and now how these are all starting to link up and work together. That's great. I'm going to be able to brush up on my Spanish, so that'll be fantastic.
Yes, and the great thing is it's available right now, and it's available to absolutely everybody right now. So
Great.
It's great.
Brilliant. That's going to be my next question. So yeah, you beat me to that. So available to all users. That's fantastic, Adam. Okay. On to the next update then.
Right. So previously, Google Meet features such as meet recordings, attendance tracking, polling, things like that would generate Meet artifacts, which were directly shared with the meeting host only. Now, these artifacts can be directly shared with the meeting co-hosts as well. So there's a few things to bear in mind with this. So to share meeting artifacts directly with co-hosts, there are a couple of things that the primary meeting host, which is the person that generates the meeting, needs to do. So they will need to specify co-hosts when creating a meeting within the Google Calendar event. They also need to select an option which is call artifacts are shared with the host and co-host to add here. That is the option that you'll see within Google Calendar when you're creating the meeting. A couple more things to bear in mind with this. So it's a great feature, but there's just a few things to bear in mind. So if you promote someone to a co-host during an ongoing meeting, they will not get the meeting artifacts. They will not get your meeting recording or other artifacts for that particular meeting. You must add them as a co-host when you set up or edit the event within Google Calendar. If a participant's co-host status is removed during the meeting, they still get the artifacts, but they will not receive artifacts for subsequent meetings if that meeting is using the exact same meeting code. If you're using a different meeting code, that will be fine. But if you're using the same meeting for a reoccurring meeting you have every week or something like that, then that person will. Am I saying that they will or they will not receive?
I think you're saying they won't receive for the future ones, right?
They will not receive those future ones. In Google Classroom, all co-teachers are recognized as co-hosts automatically. You will not need to do anything additional. So if you're having a meeting within Google Classroom, you do not need to do anything extra to make anybody a co-host. All the teachers, they're automatically co-hosts, so that's really handy. Their co-host status cannot be removed within Google Classroom. If a user is removed as a co-teacher, they will no longer receive the artifacts. So there's a few things to bear in mind. So in a nutshell, you can now control who receives these artifacts within a meeting. And I think this is going to be a great feature. I know it's something that we'll use ourselves as a business, but as I say, there's just a couple of things to bear in mind with this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Adam. That was really thoroughly explained. I just like the fact that they're called artefacts. To be quite honest, it's like I thought that was just something you picked up when you're playing Lara Croft, but that's pretty cool that they call them artefacts. So. I take it artifacts, what we're talking about here, I've kind of seen these, you sort of alluded to at the beginning, like meet recordings. I know I've seen it before where it's kind of sent the chat history through, I think, and things like that. So meet recordings, attendance tracking. I mean, again, we had this last week actually, where one of the features we sort of stumbled across when we were doing this video podcast, because we do this video podcast over Google Meet. Apologies to anybody who is watching the video podcast, by the way, thinking that Google Meet video is rubbish. It's not. It's because my internet connection is terrible where I am, which is not great for somebody who's an IT professional, but you know, it's the price I pay for living in a lovely village. So the point is that these artifacts are like recordings and these various things that you have. We actually found this when we were trying to do this podcast before, where we were talking about the recording from this, weren't we? And we were saying, well, it depends. Do you initiate the recording or do I? Who's it going to go to? It depends on who's coming to the meeting first. So I can really see how Google's trying to kind of unify this with whoever's in the meeting gets the artifacts, gets the things that are relevant to this meeting sent out to them. So yeah, a few caveats there. I tell you what we're going to do, actually. I think we should start doing this regularly on these podcasts. I think what we're going to do is on the video podcast, and I'll try and do it on the audio one as well. I think we'll drop these caveats into the description so that our listeners and our viewers can actually see these. Yeah,
Or
yeah,
could have
so
them
they
just
can
scrolling up right here.
Yeah, exactly. I might be a bit more challenged. I don't know how to do that. Great. Okay. Are those? We've just got 2 updates today, Adam. Is that right?
Yes, those are the main two. So this one with Google Meets and their artifacts, it is not available to everybody, but we have a list. So from the top. So this is available to Workspace Essentials, Business Standard, Business Plus, Enterprise Starter, Enterprise Essentials, Enterprise Standard, Enterprise Plus, Education Standard, Education Plus, Education Fundamentals, and Teaching and Learning Upgrade customers. So this is not available to Google Workspace Business Starter, Frontline, and Nonprofit, as well as G Suite Legacy and Business customers. So I'm not sure what the difference between actually, that would be G Suite. That will be legacy business customers. So it is available to
Yeah.
business customers, but not the legacy business customers. So this is probably available to pretty much everybody, but not not just your everyday standard user. If you just have a basic Google account, then you will not have access to this, because you also won't have access to record your meeting in the first place.
Exactly.
But if you do have access, or if you do have Meet recordings available with your Google subscription license, then this feature will be available to you.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I was thinking exactly the same thing. I was thinking this, again, like our update last week, this is in line with those features being available on those versions anyway. There's no point in giving somebody access to Meet recordings on a version of Google where they don't even have Meet recordings in the first place, right?
Exactly.
So that makes
Yes.
makes a lot of sense. Okay, great. Well, I think that's everything. So thank you very much for that, Adam. That's it, everybody. That's everything you need to know about the latest updates happening with Google Workspace. Remember that there is a video version of this podcast, or a audio version of this podcast, depending on which one you're listening to or watching. And the video version is available on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/strawberry7. Audio is available on any audio podcast provider. I know we're on Spotify and Apple. We're trying to add more all the time. Thank you very much for joining us this week.
We'll be back again next Monday with more updates.
Goodbye.
Bye.